All right, so I am in the ADS test portal right now. I'm logged in as Nicole Roberts. I can take a look at my organizations here, and that gives me the perspective of what organizations I belong to and what roles I have at those organizations. So as Nicole, I can see that I'm the administrator, I'm a filer, and I'm a data requester for Nexus Electric. I can get to my org details down here. But what's important here is to note that I am in fact a filer. I could also see that by going to my access requests. You can see that I did get approved to be a filer. And what that means is that I have access to submit actions or filings through the portal. So I can see all actions by clicking on all actions from the nav bar, and that gives me a perspective of all actions published to the portal. If I want to create a new action, I click submit an action, and I only have that button because I do have the filer role. I could be a filer at multiple organizations if I were representing multiple organizations, and you'll see that when I'm submitting this filing, I do have to choose which organization am I representing if I belong to multiple. So I'm going to scroll down here. We've got a couple buttons under new actions. Create an action in an existing PUC activity, or create an action to create a new PUC activity. So we'll start with creating an action in an existing PUC activity. This is one of the ways that you can get to this place. So from here, I choose which PUC activity I want to add an action to. I think we were working with EA 46. There it is. All right, there's EA 46. Now I am selecting my action group. I just clicked on that magnifying glass and it gives me all these options. I'll go with filings, pleadings, but you can see the other types. Basically, any action group that I choose here is going to pre-filter my list of action types. So when I clicked on filings, pleadings as the action group, now I can see what options I have that belong to filings and pleadings. And if I were to change this to, let's go with utility filing, you can see that my action type options have changed. Go with advice. All right, and then I can click next. Now I have to select which organization I'm filing this for. I only belong to one, so it's my only option, but I might belong to multiple and they would appear in that list. I'm going to click select. Advice filing. All right, that's my description. Tags, anything that I add as a tag makes this record searchable by those tags in the portal and in the ADS internal side. So let's go with electric device demo. Okay, would I like to duplicate this action to another PUC activity? I'm going to say no. This is the only PUC activity that I would like to submit this action for. I click next. And what we're viewing right now, while I did select advice as my action type, this is the basic process that you're going to walk through for just about every action that you submit. There are a few differences. We did see if I submitted an EA or ES application that I got a digitized application form. So there are some differences, but overall, this is what we're looking at. So now I'm on the related documents section. I can upload documents to the non-confidential folder, the confidential folder, or the highly confidential folder. If I upload to the confidential or highly confidential, I should also upload a redacted version. I'm going to stick with non-confidential. It's important to put these in the correct folder because when you submit an action through the portal, it will immediately become published on the portal. Let's see, I'm looking for a document. There we go. This brought up my file explorer, and I have a folder of documents. I'm going to go with that one. Add files. Upload added files. Depending on how large your file is, it could take a moment. All right, and that's the end of this process. I'm going to click submit. All right, I'll get an email that lets me know that my submission did complete. And the service list and the staff list of the PUC activity for which that action belonged to will also be notified that there's a new action. I can see that new action. If I go over to the nav bar, click on my name and click on my actions, I can see my actions because I do have that filer web role. Now, if I scroll down, I can see that I submitted that advice filing. I can see that it's under review. Here's some of the other status options for the filing status. I can see that my amendment from earlier today was accepted. If I wanted to go back and just view the information, I can do that by clicking on that caret, and I get the general details. I can see that there's one document that I uploaded, and here it is. I can click on it to download. X out of that tab and back up a little bit. If I submitted this and realized that I needed to amend it because I was missing a bit of information, or maybe I submitted it and realized I forgot to upload a document, I can click amend this action, and that will create a new action record called amended errata. And I'll walk through that same process that you just saw for this amendment. It'll be associated to the original filing that I submitted. All right, I'm going to go back to submit an action. So we just looked at creating an action in an existing PUC activity. There is one other place that you could create an action. Well, there's a few other places, but I'll start with this one. If I click on PUC activities from the nav bar, it brings me to a list of PUC activities published within ADS. So I am going to click on the caret next to EA46 and click view details. I have the ability to subscribe to this PUC activity. I'm going to scroll down. Any events associated with it that are published. I can see the three different lists. We have the listserv, staff list, subscription list, orders, actions. I can see that advice filing that I just submitted, but I have this create button, and that's because I am a filer. So if I click create from right here, notice that it doesn't ask me to fill in the PUC activity for this action.
Hey, Tara, before we start too much, there's a bunch of people who have the wrong link. Can we resend the link to them?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let
Okay.
me take care of that right now. I've got the Teams meeting information. I can paste it in this chat if you guys can distribute it to. Oh, you know what? And I know what happened for this one. I can explain.
This one had two different links in it.
Yep, you know.
Some of us were over in the same meeting ID as we used this morning.
I know how that happened too. I copied the description from this morning's meeting, and I probably also copied the Teams meeting as that first one. Sorry about that.
So there's still several people over on the other one right now.
Let me go over to the other one and send them that link. I'll be back in a moment.
You know, I think they're off already because I'm going to send it to the people I remember.
All right, did everybody make it over?
There's a couple that's still out there, but I sent them an email, so hopefully they get on.
All right, I think last I checked, it looked like everybody was exiting. I think we're close. So we really wrapped up on the material we planned on showing earlier. And so for this next bit, we're just walking through some of those basic filer actions in the portal. And then we're going to just see if anybody has any questions or anything that they want to work through. Go ahead and share my screen. So before I jump into this action, does anybody have any questions so far on any material we covered today? Right. Okay, so just showing off a bit about the filer role. It's pretty much what we walked through this morning, just a little more granular. So let me click the back button here. All right. So I am looking at a PUC activity. I got to it by clicking on PUC activities from the nav bar. It's EA46. It's the one we've been working with all day. And because I have the filer web role, I have the ability to create actions associated to this PUC activity. Earlier, just a few moments ago, I created an advice filing through the portal and related it to the PUC activity. But now I'm just going to show creating a new action right from this grid. All right, and you'll notice that it doesn't include a PUC activity field, and that's because it understands contextually that we were on that EA46, and so anything I submit at this point is relating to that particular PUC activity. So I clicked Action Group Filings Pleadings, and now I'm going to get a filtered list for my action type.
Tara, it seems like it might be helpful if the reference to that activity was actually shown on the page so people really understand where they're at contextually.
Yeah, we can. Dave, can you take a note of that? We can add that. Yeah, it'll be pre-populated. It probably will take until we click next, which officially saves this record and populates that PUC activity, but at least you can see it as you go through the rest of this process. All right, most of these look the same as far as content. It really is similar for most filings. We'll just pick a random one, other filings, pleadings, click next. Oh, you know what? It is here. It's just missing from that first page, and that is because it does not populate until save of the record for the first time. So once you get past those first two steps, then you will see which PUC activity you're filing for. All right, my organization, I just have the only org that I belong to. Any others would also appear in this list for me to choose from. Okay, description tag, same as before. And I'm gonna click no here and click next. We're back at the document upload. So I can upload to confidential this time. Click add files, choose files, it brings up my file explorer. I've got this guy. Add files. Now I can see what I plan on uploading, and I can click upload added files. If I wanted to also include a non-confidential version of that document, I could do so. Right, it might take a moment the bigger your document. Of course, these are pretty empty documents, but it could take just a moment to load. All right, yes, I did upload a redacted version, sort of, and I click submit. All right, I get an email that I did in fact successfully submit this, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like on my actions. All right, so now we can see the advice filing from a few moments ago, and we can see my other filing pleading over here. Both of these are under review. Next is for AHD support to go in and accept the filing. Does anybody have any questions on what we've shown so far, or any other material you'd like me to cover for the portal? All right, I'll touch base quick on what it looks like to submit an action for a new PUC activity. This is the process that we went through for the EAES application, but there are a few other options. So, well, let me back up. I clicked on this button, create an action to create a new PUC activity. All right, my action group is limited to just a few options, and that is because this is only going to allow me to file the initial action types. So these are all action types for when you are trying to create a new docket or PUC activity. We've got CP new application, we'll show that later in the week. Docket opened, initial action to come, initial, new EA or ES application, which we covered earlier. I click select. And this process is largely exactly the same. Of course, you'll see our language update on the portal as we continue to update the portal verbiage. But this process is the same as for any other action. Because it's a new PUC activity that I'm filing for, it's going to ask if I'd like to add context to the listserv. We saw this with the new EAES application, but this is true of any initial action. So I can add people to the listserv by clicking add new contact. And first I will add myself as Nicole. There we go. Select. Oh, I tried searching for my own name under organization, and the reason that it gave me Aon Nexus Electric, let me just do that again so you can see, is because Aon Nexus Electric, the primary contact is Nicole Roberts. So that was a mistake, but it did pop up. All right, and contact. Now, because I chose Aon Nexus Electric, my only options are the people who exist in that organization. I'll start with myself. And submit. So once this new action for a new PUC activity is approved or accepted, excuse me, then AHD support can create a whole new PUC activity or docket for this. And these people will be added to the listserv. Okay, and sure. All right, listserv looks good to me. So now I can click next. Upload any documentation. I'm going to skip that for now. We showed it enough earlier. And submit. Any questions? All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording.